All right, well, a little bit of a shop update here. I'm been doing a little bit of everything today. Had the planer running, got the deck of the bases of the Quorn tool and cutter grinder ground off. Might as well move this down here and show it to you. So that's the way it looks before we've cleaned it off or unclamped it. What I've done is I've taken both of these bases and I've aligned them and bolted them together. I drilled and tapped them, and I had quite a bit of shrinkage in this casting, actually on both castings, so I'm going to end up and fill them anyway if I ultimately use these castings. But I drilled, counterbored them, and bolted them together, and then decked off the top. And what I'm going to do is they'll remain bolted together until I get them bored that way, and probably the hold down holes drilled in it. And I didn't have good fixturing to be able to really mount these. We just butted up against the vise. This is the side that I'd previously planed off, and I've got video of that, but I haven't edited any of that stuff yet. So, and I didn't tape this portion of it. I've got a machinist jack under the back side to hold it up level, and we just bolted them together. And now if we set them down on a flat surface, they should be pretty solid. I'll leave them bolted together. I can mount them up on the milling machine in this orientation, which was part of the reason for facing off this side. I can mount it and clamp it there, and then I can bore both of these bed holes, and then I know they're in alignment. When we're done, we'll finish them out and go from there. While I've got them bolted like this, I may go ahead and drill the hold down holes for mounting them that way. So we've got that much more of it done. This afternoon I will have the material in for the bed bars. We've got some 1 3/8", I believe it is what we decided on for size. Turn, ground, and polished material, enough for both the bed bars. I've got the 1 3/4", I believe it is, for the upright column ordered. It won't be here until sometime next week, and we'll do quite a thing on it because we've got to machine the spiral groove in it. And I'm probably going to machine that spiral exactly like I did on the original Quorn. I'll do it in the milling machine. I've got a pretty redneck style auto advance set up for it that will rotate it, and unless something's wrong with that, I think we'll use the same system to machine that. So that'll be coming up. Been spending an awful lot of time working on the sand muller. Been doing way too many castings here lately, so I need to be able to process the sand a little bit better, so I've been working on that. And we can go outside and I'll show that to you, show you the progress there, and then we can look over some of the other little crap I've got sitting here that I've been working on. Okay, once again we're out here in the sun, and this is our muller wheel that we'd already built, and I think I've probably shown this, but I haven't edited that video and put it out yet either. So here's the main hub going in. Bearings are in there, it's preloaded. It'll be apart and back together several more times, but anyway, I've got adjustable plows on both sides, both the primary and the secondary plow. And I've got to cast up the aluminum bushings that go in there. And there's a pattern for those. They'll be machined down, once I cast them in aluminum, they'll be machined down and made to fit in there. And there'll be a pivot arm comes out of there, comes up to the axle for the wheel hub on there, and then an adjustable height stop rests against there. So that's what's going on with that. I've got about ready to start working on the gearbox housing again. So that'll be major castings coming up out here in the sun. I've got the stainless flasks just about done for that. I've got to weld it up a little bit and then build a hanger for it. And we've got some fancy little 5/8 rod. And this material's for split cotters for on the Atlas lathe, mill, and shaper. Everything it uses, a split cotter uses these. And I built them previously before with a hex bolt in the bottom. These we're going to go ahead and probably machine out a square for them so it'll accept a standard style head in them. I'm going to set these up on the turret lathe, or I'm going to convert the Sheldon over to a turret lathe, and that'll probably happen this weekend. I'll start working on that, and we'll turn out a bunch of those. So we'll see a little bit of turret machining, turret lathe machining on the Sheldon, And then we have a shaper guard that's going to paint this afternoon. And this is the larger shaper guard that goes on the Atlas shaper. And this one's pretty much done. It's got to be painted up yet. We've got the pivot hinge holes on there. We've got it drilled for the little drive rivet that indexes them into the clamping fixture. And it's drilled and tapped for the knob. So other than a little bit more sanding on it, why, it's ready to be painted, and it'll be ready to go out the door. I've already loaded it to the website. It's on the Atlas Machine Shop website. You know, this is one of those castings that I may or may not produce very many of, if any more, type of thing. It'll depend on the demand for them. And the demand's not that great. You know, any of these Atlas parts, I cast because I enjoy casting. And I like sharing how to build some of this other stuff that we can build a whole lot cheaper than we can buy new reproduction stuff off of eBay. The parts that I've machined out, that I set up on the lathe, on the turret lathe, on the mill, whatever the case may be, and produce, I try and produce those with the idea that we can do them as inexpensively as possible. And I'll also give you the ideas about how you can machine most of these in your own shop. When it comes to the castings, it's a little bit different because there's not a whole lot of guys that have the abilities to have their little foundry and do their castings, and they're relatively specialized. You have to have something to start off with as a pattern before you can even build your own patterns and that type of thing. So it's not always feasible to be producing your own castings. I try and keep those as reasonably cost as I can, I think, and still make a little bit of money on them. When I look at this bigger shaper casting as a perfect example, it's a relatively expensive casting to produce. By the time I figure the cost of firing the furnace and the consumables that I use, just parting compound, new sand, things like that, and cost of aluminum. There's fixed costs in that. You know, I'll try and keep them as reasonable as I can. The reality is, on this bigger casting, I was kind of crunching the numbers earlier, and I think right now, the way I cast, it probably cost me about $75 in materials and consumables, not counting labor, to cast one of the larger shaper guards. So I feel like I've got that into the materials before I even include any labor. So if I didn't enjoy casting, I wouldn't do it, but there's also going to be a fixed cost there. So just so we all kind of understand what's going on there. I'm not making my fortune on castings, I can guarantee you that. So anyway, that's kind of what I got going on. This shaper guard's already loaded to the Atlas Machine Shop website. I got one available. It's set up so there's no back orders, and that's what we got. So anyway, I'll throw this out probably here later today or in the morning for you. And if you haven't hit that subscribe button, I'd appreciate it. Comments or suggestions, leave them in the comments section for me below. And as always, guys, thanks for taking the time to watch.